I have awakened in thy shelter, oh my God, and it becometh him that seeketh that shelter to abide within the sanctuary of thy protection and the stronghold of thy defense. Illumine my inner being, oh my Lord, with the splendors of the day spring of thy revelation, even as thou didst illumine my outer being with the morning light of thy favor. Illumine my inner being, oh my Lord, with the splendors of the day spring of thy revelation, even as thou didst illumine my outer being with the morning light of thy favor. Babe, could you turn that monitor up just a bit? It's a little, I don't think the Facebook people are hearing that very well. Let me try something here. That's good. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes. How's everyone this morning? Good morning, Hushang and Terry and Dell and Andy and Vicky. How you doing, Vicky? And Vicky's dog. Hello, Vicky's dog, whose name I cannot remember. And good morning, Ralph. And good morning, Jeremiah, out there in the clouds. Every time I say that, I know people don't know what I'm talking about unless they're here in the Zoom. And it's because his picture is actually a picture of the sky with clouds in it. So, and as you can see, I'm here alone. Unfortunately, Daryl's a little under the weather. I want to apologize for not being here last week. It wasn't a total last-minute decision, but it was close to the last minute. And I actually got some people that contacted me through Facebook. Now, I know that those of you who who join us through Zoom, you found out then. But the people that join us through Facebook, either in real, when we're actually doing this, or who try to find the program later on, that's when they find out. And there were a few people that contacted me through Facebook, and one person who was local that actually ran into me and said, "What happened to the?" So again, I want to apologize. It was, like I said, it was. I'll go ahead and tell you that I was tired. We had a lot on our plate last week, and but again, unfortunately, Daryl's not with us. I don't believe I said good morning to the lovely and talented Nini Ha. Good morning, Nini. How are you?
Good morning.
Do the people in Zoom hear her? Did anyone hear her there? You did hear her? Because that mic doesn't pick you up.
Only slightly, not clearly at all.
Yeah. She's mic shy, and this is one of those, I think, dynamic mics that only you have to get really close to it.
Just barely heard her.
Okay, you hear? Okay, good. Now, we're going to go ahead and, of course, begin. And I want to first. I'm going to start with a prayer, and then I'll say something after this. O God, my God, these are thy feeble servants. They are thy loyal bondsmen and thy handmaidens, who have bowed themselves down before thine exalted utterance, and humbled themselves at thy threshold of light, and borne witness to thy oneness, through which the sun hath been made to shine in midday splendor. They have listened to the summons thou didst raise from out thy hidden realm, and with hearts quivering with love and rapture, they have responded to thy call. O Lord, shower upon them all the outpourings of thy mercy. Rain down upon them all the waters of thy grace. Make them to grow as beauteous plants in the garden of heaven, and from the full and brimming clouds of thy bestowals, and out of the deep pools of thine abounding grace. Make thou this garden to flower, and keep it ever green and lustrous, ever fresh and shimmering and fair. Thou art verily the mighty, the exalted, the powerful, he who alone in the heavens and on the earth abideth unchanged. There is none other God save thee, the Lord of manifest tokens and signs. And this is a prayer by Abdu'l-Baha. Now this morning I'm going to do something I don't usually do. You know, every once in a while, especially when we get into the later portion of our program, and we have people doing readings and prayers, and we have Andy sharing some music with us. Every once in a while, no, not every once in a while, I always come across things I would like to share from the writings of Baha'u'llah. Usually I start out my day by reading something, almost always from Gleanings. And for whatever reason that I can't really even find the words to explain, I just want to share this. This is not in relation to what we're doing today, but I'll probably start doing this more often than not. And this is coming from Gleanings. Gleanings is divided into not really chapters, but passages, and they're all numbered with Roman numerals. This is Gleanings. I'll say Gleanings 3, and I'm not reading the whole thing, but I'll just read a portion of it. The revelation which from time immemorial hath been acclaimed as the purpose and promise of all the prophets of God, and the most cherished desire of his messengers, hath now by virtue of the most pervasive will of the Almighty and at his irresistible bidding been revealed unto men. The advent of such a revelation hath been heralded in all the sacred scriptures. Behold how, notwithstanding such an announcement, mankind hath strayed from its path and shut out itself from its glory. Baha'u'llah goes on to say, O ye lovers of the one true God, strive that ye may truly recognize and know him, and observe befittingly his precepts. I'm going to skip down here. And he says, render thanks unto God, inasmuch as ye have attained unto your heart's desire. That means everything that you've hoped for, that revelation you hoped for, that return you hoped for, this is it. Render thanks unto God, inasmuch as ye have attained unto your heart's desire, and been united to him who is the promise of all nations. Guard ye with the aid of the one true God, exalted be his glory, the integrity of the station which ye have attained, and cleave to that which shall promote his cause. I'm going to read a little bit from Gleanings 4 too, because it all connects. This is the day in which God's most excellent favors have been poured out upon men, the day in which his most mighty grace hath been infused into all created things. And then at the bottom of this passage he says, beseech ye the one true God, to grant that all men may be graciously assisted to fulfill that which is acceptable in our sight. Soon will the present day order be rolled up, and a new one spread out in its stead. Verily the Lord speaketh the truth, and is the knower of things unseen. Again, that's not connected to what we're reading today, except for the fact that it's connected to everything under the sun. But as you know, we are continuing our reading of Baha'u'llah and the New Era, Baha'u'llah and the New Era. And we are in the middle of, I shouldn't say in the middle, but we are reading Abdu'l-Baha, the servant of Baha. And we read last week up into that portion where Abdu'l-Baha, he had been imprisoned and so forth, and he was finally released, or at least he will be released. And I just want to, again, read the portion that we finished with, and this is Abdu'l-Baha speaking. Grieve not. Well, let me start with a portion where that leads into it. To most people, the hardships of prison life would appear as grievous calamities, but for Abdu'l-Baha, they had no terrors. When in prison, he wrote, grieve not because of my imprisonment and calamity, for this prison is my beautiful garden, my mansioned paradise, and my throne of dominion among mankind. My calamity in my prison is a crown to me in which I glory among the righteous. Anyone can be happy in the state of comfort, ease, health, success, pleasure, and joy. But if one be happy and contented in the time of trouble, hardship, and prevailing disease, this is the proof of nobility. And again, those are words of Abdu'l-Baha. Now we're going to continue, and we're starting, again, the page in this particular edition is page 67. But no matter what edition you have, we're starting at Turkish Commissions of Investigation. Turkish Commissions of Investigation. And so let's begin. I really miss Daryl, I got to admit. I like when he reads. In 1904 and 1907, commissions were appointed by the Turkish government to inquire into the charges against Abdu'l-Baha, and lying witnesses gave evidence against him. Abdu'l-Baha, while refuting the charges, expressed his entire readiness to submit to any sentence the tribunal chose to impose. He declared that if they should throw him into jail, drag him through the streets, curse him, spit upon him, stone him, heap unto him all sort of ignominy, hang him or shoot him, he would still be happy. He would still be happy. It makes me want to write a song. I'd like to call it I Ain't No Abdu'l-Baha. But anyway, between the sittings of the commissions of investigation, he pursued his ordinary life with the utmost serenity, planting fruit trees in a garden and presiding, get this, planting fruit trees in a garden and presiding at a marriage feast with the dignity and radiance of spiritual freedom. The Spanish consul offered to provide him a safe passage to any foreign port he cared to select, but this offer he gratefully but firmly refused, saying that whatever the consequences, he must follow in the footsteps of the Bab and the Blessed Perfection, meaning Baha'u'llah, who never tried to save themselves or run away from their enemies. He encouraged most of the Baha'is, however, to leave the neighborhood of Akka. Remember, that was a prison. He encouraged most of the Baha'is, however, to leave the neighborhood of Akka, which had become very dangerous for them, and remained alone with a few of the faithful to await his destiny. The four corrupt officials who constituted the last investigating commission arrived in Akka in the early part of the winter of 1907, stayed 1 month, and departed for Constantinople after finishing their so-called investigation, prepared to report that the charges against Abdu'l-Baha had been substantiated and to recommend his exile or execution. No sooner had they got back to Turkey, however, than the revolution broke out there, and the four commissioners who belonged to the old regime had to flee. I'm sorry, I just lost my place. Had to flee for their lives. The Young Turks established their supremacy, and all political and religious prisoners in the Ottoman Empire were set free. In September 1880, Abdu'l-Baha was released from prison. And in the following year, Abdul Hamid, the Sultan, became himself a prisoner. We'll move on now to a section called Western Tours, because Abdu'l-Baha, let me take these off. Abdu'l-Baha did again visit the West, and it is well documented. So let's start reading about that. After his release, Abdu'l-Baha continued the same holy life of ceaseless activity in teaching, correspondence, ministering to the poor and the sick, with merely the change from Akka to Haifa and from Haifa to Alexandria until August 1911, when he started on his first visit to the Western world. During his tours in the West, Abdu'l-Baha met men of every shade of opinion and amply fulfilled the command of Baha'u'llah to consort with all the people with joy and fragrance. He reached London early in September 1911, and spent a month there, during which, besides daily walks with inquirers and many other activities, he addressed the congregations of the Reverend R.J. Campbell at the City Temple and of Archdeacon Wilberforce at St. John's, Westminster, and breakfasted with the Lord Mayor. He then proceeded to Paris, where his time was occupied in giving daily addresses and talks to eager listeners of many nationalities and types. In December, he returned to Egypt, and next spring, in response to the earnest entreaty of the American friends, he proceeded to the United States, arriving in New York in April 1912. During the next 9 months, he traveled through America from coast to coast, addressing all sorts and conditions of men: university students, socialists, Mormons, Jews, Christians, agnostics, Esperantists, peace societies, New Thought clubs, women's suffrage societies, and speaking in churches of almost every denomination, in each case giving addresses suited to the audience and to the occasion. On December 5th, he sailed for Great Britain, where he passed 6 weeks visiting Liverpool, London, Bristol, and Edinburgh. I don't know if that's Edinburgh or Edinburgh. I think it's Edinburgh, but anyway, I digress. In Edinburgh, he gave a notable address to the Esperanto Society, in which he announced that he had encouraged the Baha'is of the East to study Esperanto in order to further better understand between the East and the West. It is a language. After 2 months in Paris, spent as before in daily interviews and conference, he proceeded to Stuttgart, where he held a series of very successful meetings with the German Baha'is, thence to Budapest and Vienna, founding new groups in these places, returning in May 1913 to Egypt, and on December 5th, 1913, to Haifa. I just want to tell a quick little story here. There's a wonderful local Baha'i by the name of Ingrid. If you live in this area, you know Ingrid. You probably know Ingrid. Ingrid is one of the older Baha'is in the area. And one moment, let me let Gilbert in here. And she was telling me, this is years ago, but she was telling me about the time when Abdul-Baha came to the States. And the rumor started that he was a prophet. Well, Abdul-Baha was not a prophet. He was the son of Baha'u'llah. He was appointed to move the faith forward, guard the integrity of the faith, and guide the faith after the passing of Baha'u'llah. But again, word got around that he was a prophet, and she said that there was a big headline in some papers that said, "Prophet says he's no prophet." So, I mean, prophet says he's no prophet. So he was trying to get them to see, that yes, maybe I am a positive example that I hope you look up to and so forth. But again, not a prophet. So anyway, moving on. The next section is called Return to the Holy Land. Return to the Holy Land. He was then in his 70th year, and his long and arduous labors, culminating in these strenuous Western tours, had worn out his physical frame. After his return, he wrote the following pathetic tablet to the believers in East and West. It reads, "Friends, the time is coming when I shall be no longer with you. I've done all that could be done. I have served the cause of Baha'u'llah to the utmost of my ability. I've labored night and day all the years of my life. Oh, how I long to see the believers shouldering the responsibilities of the cause. Now is the time to proclaim the kingdom of Abha, in essence, the most glorious. Now is the hour of union and concord. Now is the day of the spiritual harmony of the friends of God. I am straining my ears toward the east and toward the west, toward the north and toward the south, that haply I may hear the songs of love and friendship raised in the meetings of the believers. My days are numbered, and save this, there remains none other joy for me. Oh, how I yearn to see the friends united, even as a shining strand of pearls, as the brilliant Pleiades, as the rays of the sun, the gazelles of one meadow. The mystic nightingale is singing for them. Will they not listen? The bird of paradise is warbling. Will they not hear? The angel of the kingdom of Abha is calling to them. Will they not hearken? The messenger of the covenant is pleading. Will they not heed? Ah, I am waiting to hear the glad news that the believers are the embodiment of sincerity and loyalty, the incarnation of love and amity, and the manifestation of unity and concord. Will they not rejoice my heart? Will they not satisfy my yearnings? Will they not heed my pleadings? Will they not fulfill my hopes? Will they not answer my call? I am waiting. I am patiently waiting. I just think that's beautiful. As sad as it sounds, it's so beautiful. The enemies of the Baha'i cause, whose hopes had risen high when the Bab fell a victim to their fury, when Baha'u'llah was driven from his native land and made a prisoner for life, and again at the passing of Baha'u'llah, these enemies once more took heart when they saw the physical weakness and weariness of Abdu'l-Baha after his return from his western travels. After his return from his western travels. But again, their hopes were doomed to disappointment. In a short time, Abdu'l-Baha was able to write, unquestionably, this physical body and human energy would have been unable to stand the constant wear and tear. But the aid and help of the Desired One, the Desired One is in caps, so that's again a reference to God, but the aid and help of the Desired One were the guardian and the protector of the weak and humble Abdu'l-Baha. I'll read that again. I kind of tore that up a little bit. Unquestionably, this physical body and human energy would have been unable to stand the constant wear and tear, but the aid and help of the Desired One were the guardian and protector of the weak and humble Abdu'l-Baha. Some have asserted that Abdu'l-Baha is on the eve of bidding his last farewell to the world, that his physical energies are depleted and drained, and that ere long these complications will put an end to his life. This is far from the truth. It's like I'm saying, I hate to disappoint you. This is far from the truth. Although in the outward estimation of the covenant breakers and defective-minded, the body is weak on account of ordeals in the blessed path, yet, praise be to God, through the providence of the blessed perfection, the spiritual forces are in the utmost rejuvenation and strength. Thanks be to God that now, through the blessing and benediction of Baha'u'llah, even the physical energies are fully restored. Divine joy is obtained. The supreme glad tidings are resplendent, and ideal happiness overflowing. Both during the European War and after, this is, I should say unquote, because that was a quote from Abdu'l-Baha. Both during the European War and after its close, Abdu'l-Baha, amidst countless other activities, was able to pour forth a series of great and inspiring letters which, when communications were reopened, roused believers throughout the world to new enthusiasm and zeal for service. Under the inspiration of these letters, the cause progressed by leaps and bounds, and everywhere the faith showed signs of new vitality and vigor. We move on now to a section called Wartime at Haifa. A remarkable instance of the foresight of Abdu'l-Baha was supplied during the months immediately preceding the war. I'll start that again. A remarkable instance of the foresight of Abdu'l-Baha was supplied during the months immediately preceding the war. During peace times, there was usually a large number of pilgrims at Haifa from Persia and other regions of the globe. About 6 months before the outbreak of war, one of the old Baha'is living at Haifa presented a request from several believers of Persia for permission to visit the Master. Abdu'l-Baha did not grant the permission, and from the time onwards gradually dismissed the pilgrims who were at Haifa, so that by the end of July 1914, none remained. When in the first days of August, the sudden outbreak of the Great War, what we now know as World War I, when in the first days of August, the sudden outbreak of the Great War startled the world, the wisdom of his precaution became apparent. When the war broke out, Abdu'l-Baha, who had already spent 55 years of his life in exile and prison, became again virtually a prisoner of the Turkish government. Communication with friends and believers outside Syria was almost completely cut off, and he and his little band of followers were again subjected to straitened circumstances, scarcity of food, and great personal danger and inconvenience. During the war, Abdu'l-Baha had a busy time in ministering to the material and spiritual wants of the people about him. Think about what he's already been through. And he had the foresight, the intuition, call it what you want, to send people away that would have been endangered had they remained. And then it says, during the war, Abdu'l-Baha had a busy time in ministering to the material and spiritual wants of the people about him. He's still working. He personally organized extensive agricultural operations near Tiberias, thus supplying I'm sorry, I just lost my place. How'd that happen? He personally organized extensive agricultural operations near Tiberias, thus securing a great supply of wheat, by means of which famine was averted, not only for the Baha'is, but for hundreds of the poor of all religions in Haifa and Akka, whose wants he liberally supplied. He took care of all and mitigated their sufferings as far as possible. To hundreds of poor people who he would give a small sum of money daily. In addition to money, he gave bread. If there was no bread, he would give dates or something else. He made frequent visits to Akka to comfort and help the believers and poor people there. During the time of war, he had daily meetings of the believers, and through his help, the friends remained happy and tranquil throughout those troublous years. I think we'll stop there for now, and maybe we'll have a song.
One day I woke up and somehow I knew I needed someone, Lord, I needed you. You sent a messenger who helped me to see my life's no good without you living in me. Allow I wanna say allow I've thank you for the love that you give me. Oh, for every blessing in my life. You're the remover of my every difficulty. In a world filled with so much strife, now I say, allow a power, Yabba, I wanna say, allow a power, Yabba. You know some people just don't understand. You put the light into my life again. There's just no way I can truly deserve your tender mercy and wonderful love. Allow a power, I wanna say, allow a power,
You know, that's a word that we often say in Baha'i circles, Alawapa and Yabahawalapa. And for anyone who finds that word unfamiliar, it simply means God is most glorious. We use it as a greeting often, or a goodbye, or just like a hallelujah, Alawapa. And so now let's continue just a little bit. For anyone who doesn't know, Abdu'l-Baha was knighted. He became known, then this next section is called Sir Abdu'l-Baha Abbas, KBE. And the KBE, I believe, stands for Knight of the British Empire. Great was the rejoicing in Haifa when, on the 23rd day of September 1918, at 3 p.m., after some 24 hours fighting, the city was taken by British and Indian cavalry, and the horrors of war conditions under the Turkish rule came to an end. From the beginning of the British occupation, large numbers of soldiers and government officials of all ranks, even the highest, sought interviews with Abdu'l-Baha, delighting in his illuminating talks, his breadth of view and depth of insight, his dignified courtesy and genial hospitality. So profoundly impressed were the government representatives by his noble character and his great work in the interest of peace, conciliation, and the true prosperity of the people, that a knighthood of the British Empire was conferred on Abdu'l-Baha, the ceremony taking place in the garden of the military governor of Haifa on the 27th day of April, 1920. Now, I think I'll read maybe one more section here. We are now getting into the last years of Abdu'l-Baha. There are a couple of sections here. I know we're definitely not going to finish this chapter, but I think we'll do one more section here. Last years of Abdu'l-Baha. Well, last years. During the winter of 1919 and 1920, the writer, J.E. Esselmont, the writer had the great privilege of spending 2.5 months as the guest of Abdu'l-Baha at Haifa and intimately observing his daily life. At that time, although nearly 76 years of age, he was still remarkably vigorous and accomplished daily an almost incredible amount of work. Although often very weary, he showed wonderful powers of recuperation, and his services were always at the disposal of those who needed them most. I'm feeling guilty. I'm reading all this that Abdu'l-Baha did, and and I think of what little I do, and and I was like, I was tired. But anyway, although often very weary, he showed wonderful powers of recuperation, and his services were always at the disposal of those who needed them most. His unfailing patience, gentleness, kindliness, and tact made his presence like a benediction. It was his custom to spend a large part of each night in prayer and meditation. From early morning until evening, except for a short siesta after lunch, he was busily engaged in reading and answering letters from many lands and in attending to the multitudinous affairs of the household and of the cause. In the afternoon, he usually had a little relaxation in the form of a walk or a drive, but even then he was usually accompanied by one or two or a party of pilgrims with whom he would converse on spiritual matters, or he would find opportunity by the way of seeing and ministering to some of the poor. I'll say that again, okay? Because I kind of messed that up. That's a rather long sentence. In the afternoon, he usually had a little relaxation in the form of a walk or a drive, but even then, he was usually accompanied by one or two or a party of pilgrims with whom he would converse on spiritual matters, or he would find the opportunity by the way of seeing and ministering to some of the poor. After his return, he would call the friends to the usual evening meeting in his salon. Both at lunch and supper, he used to entertain a number of pilgrims. This man seemed just unstoppable when you're reading all of this. Both at lunch and supper, he used to entertain a number of pilgrims and friends and charm his guests with happy and humorous stories, as well as precious talks on a great variety of subjects. My home, this is a quote, my home is the home of laughter and mirth, he declared. And indeed it was so. He delighted in gathering together people of various races, colors, nations, and religions in unity and cordial friendship around his hospitable board. He was indeed a loving father not only to the little community at Haifa, but to the Baha'i community throughout the world. No, I wonder why we call him, in Baha'i circles, he is called the exemplar. He is the example that we are supposed to be trying to follow. And boy, does he set a high bar. And yet we still need to continue and keep trying. At this time, as usual, we always like to pause and have anyone who would like to offer a prayer or a reading to please feel free to do so, or a song. And we always like to start with a musical selection from the amazing, phenomenal Mr. Andy Murphy. Andy, do you have anything to share with us today?
Yes, I do.
Well, Andy, please feel free to do so.
Here we go. Nightingale of paradise, you sing of love. Flooding all the world with
beautiful. Thank you, Andy.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to share?
Yes, I've been working on this song,
Please,
and I
Vicky.
think it's fitting. It's a quote from Abdul Baha. My home is the home of peace. My home is the home of joy and delight, the home of laughter and exultation. Whoso enters through the portals of this home must go out with gladsome heart. This home is the home of light. Whoso enters here must become illumined. This is the home of knowledge. The one who enters it must receive knowledge. This is the home of love. Those who come in must learn the lessons of love. Thus may they know how to love each other. Thus may they know how to love each other.
Thank you, Vicky. That was absolutely beautiful. Wow. Thank you. We need to hear your voice more often. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to share?
Sure, I just got a small prayer I'd offer to the
Please.
gathering. Okay. Lauded be thy name, O my God. I entreat thee by the fragrances of the raiment of thy grace, which at thy bidding and conformity with thy desire were diffused throughout the entire creation, and by the day star of thy will that hath shone brightly through the power of thy might and of thy sovereignty above the horizon of thy mercy, to blot out from my heart all idle fancies and vain imaginings, that with all my affections I may turn unto thee, O thou Lord of all mankind. I am thy servant and the son of thy servant, O my God. I have laid hold on the handle of thy grace and clung to the cord of thy tender mercy. Ordain for me the good things that are with thee, and nourish me from the table thou dost send down out of the clouds of thy bounty and the heaven of thy favor. Thou in very truth art the Lord of all worlds, and the God of all that are in the heavens and on the earth. I posted something in the chat. You were speaking about the life of Abdul Baha, and there's a website called the Utterance Project, and they go into extensive detail about Abdul Baha's life, and I posted a link to that, so if anybody's interested, they can click on that
Thank you
for
so much,
their
Terry.
perusal. Sure.
Yeah,
problem.
I'm glad you said. Did you say that's the Evans Project?
The Utterance Project. Utterance Project.
The Utterance Project. Okay.
I forget the lady's name who created it, but she's appeared on the Clearwater Baha'is website with many seminars,
Okay.
and she has a lot of fascinating material that you might want to investigate.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The Utterance Project, folks. I was able to, because of where Nini positioned our little Facebook camera here, she always turns it around so people can see what's going on in Zoom. And I was able to see that Farus is with us, and my sister Ameza has joined us, so I just wanted to say welcome to them. I think there are a couple of other people whose names I can't see. And is there anyone else who'd like to share? I'm kind of jumping ahead a little too soon. Anyone else who'd like to share? Well then, this is that time where we always like to point out that this is not just one or two guys that decided they were going to start getting online talking about the faith. This is a community effort, a joint community effort. And we are coming to you. If you come to us through Zoom, or you might see us, through our Facebook stream later on, you may still be getting that through the Clearwater Baha'is, and so we're always very grateful to the Clearwater Baha'is for streaming this. You may have come to it through Nini's page, because she posted it too, and I posted as well. But we especially want to, again, always express our gratitude. to Clearwater Baha'is. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up right now, along with our regular reasons every week, is because, as you know, last week, we didn't have our regular program. And the people on Facebook, my fault, found out about it rather late. Well, if you register, go to the clearwaterbaha'is.org website, click on I think morning devotionals or programs. There's a tab at the top, and it's a drop-down menu. Click on that, and what you can do is go in, give them your email. A form will come up, and you'd have to give them your email. And whenever things like this occur, where I won't be here, you'll get a notice of it. You'll get notice of it. But even better, even more importantly, when we are not able to have our regular program, the people that come through Zoom still are able to meet, and they usually do. They join together and have prayers and things of that nature. So it's not all about me. I just want to make that clear. It's not all about Daryl and myself. So I really, really, really encourage you, if you have not done that yet, I encourage you to go to, this one at the bottom, clearwaterbaha'is.org, and register. You'll still be able to join us through Facebook if that's your preference. But again, by being registered, you'll get those notices that go out when we are unable to have our regular, devotional. This is sort of a devotion slash what we call firesides, which are just kind of informational gatherings where we can talk to people about the faith. It's sort of a devotional, sort of a fireside, sort of a book club when you get right down to it. But yeah, by actually going to clearwaterbaha'is.org and registering, you'll be able to get those notices that go out. And it's certainly worth going there too to see the other programs, like Ralph mentioned, to see the other programs that they have. There's another program that always comes up on Sunday. We've mentioned it before. After this, that's certainly worth your time to be a part of if you have the time for that. And again, just like our program, they post them so that you can access them even after the program has been, I don't know what the word is, recorded, videoed, whatever. But either way, I encourage you to go to that website. But as we also like to point out, there are other websites that you can go to if you're interested in getting more information about the Baha'i Faith. And these are some of those websites, authoritative websites. www.baha'i.org, www.baha'i.us, and www.bahaiteachings.org. And of course, clearwaterbaha'is.org. Now, we usually say if you happen to be local, obviously you don't have to be local to go to that website, but if you do happen to be local, maybe you can stop in and visit us sometimes at the local Clearwater Baha'i Center. So now I will put that away. And I don't know what the weather's like where you are, but where we are, it's a little bit chilly. It did rain today, and I think it's going to be getting a little chillier. Of course, we here in Florida are a bit wimpish when it comes to weather, especially in Central Florida. So when I think today it's supposed to be like 60, mid-60s. Brr. Stay warm. Stay warm wherever you are. And as Daryl always says, when he's here, keep Daryl in your prayers. I mean, he has some ongoing health issues. Nothing that's life-threatening, but something that certainly can have a negative effect on his quality of life. So please do keep him in your prayers. And pray for Camby's as well. Please do, for Camby's Rahani. And as Daryl always says, whatever you're doing out there during the week, make sure you share the love. Make sure you share the love. Follow the example of Abdul Baha. You won't be hearing Daryl's instrument, of course. O people of justice, be as brilliant as the light. and as splendid as the fire that blazed in the burning bush. The brightness of the fire of your love will no doubt fuse and unify the contending peoples and kindreds of the earth. I'm going to stop this. I don't know what's going on, but for some reason my guitar has gotten very much out of tune. I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to take the time to tune it, but you know what I am going to do? I'm going to read these words because they're still important. Let me stop my drum here. Somewhere along the line, the guitar got out of tune, and I don't want you listening to that too much. I don't know if you could tell, but we can.
Well, no problem. Just put your phase shifter on, just increase the distance, and then out of tune or not out of tune, it'll sound okay.
Oh, God. I'm not going to do that. But I am going to read these words because to me they're still very important, and I love these words from Baha'u'llah. And I'm going to read a little extra verse since we don't have to take the time to keep with the music. How vast is the tabernacle of the cause of God! It hath overshadowed all the peoples and kindreds of the earth, and will ere long gather together the whole of mankind beneath its shelter. The day of service is now come. Arise for the triumph of my cause, and through the power of thine utterance subdue the hearts of men. Thou must show forth that which will ensure the peace and well-being of the miserable and the downtrodden. It is incumbent upon every man in this day to hold fast unto whatsoever will promote the interests. I'm going to start that again. It is incumbent upon every man in this day to hold fast unto whatsoever will promote the interest and exalt the station of all nations and just governments. These are words of Baha'u'llah. Through each and every one of the verses which the pen of the Most High hath revealed, and the doors of love and unity have been unlocked and flung open to the face of men. We have erewhile declared, and our word is the truth, consort with the followers of all religions in a spirit of friendliness and fellowship. O people of justice, be as brilliant as the light and as splendid as the fire that blazed in the burning bush. The brightness of the fire of your love will no doubt fuse and unify the contending peoples and kindreds of the earth, whilst the fierceness of the flame of enmity and hatred cannot but result in strife and ruin. We beseech God that he may shield his creatures from the evil designs of his enemies. He verily hath power over all things. Let your vision be world-embracing. Let your vision be world-embracing. Watch over yourselves, for the evil one is lying in wait, ready to entrap you. Gird yourselves against his wicked devices, and led by the light of the name of the all-seeing God, make your escape from the darkness that surroundeth you. Let your vision be world-embracing rather than confined to your own self. Everything that you have just heard me read are the words of Baha'u'llah. Have a good day, folks. Have a great week. Spread the love. Take care. Bye-bye.